Before we get into my story, make sure to please hit the subscribe button. It means the world to me. This is the following part to my story. If you haven't seen the previous one, you should click here and watch the story from the start. Hey everyone, it's Milton again. Sorry for keeping you guys waiting for so long. I'm going to pick up the story from where I left it at last time. If you all remember, then I told you about how I had lied to my sisters and everyone about losing my wealth and company. I did that to get rid of future drama. But it seems like drama follows me everywhere I go. What else could be expected when I have such dear sisters who just love to see me in misery? Anyway, I had started going out with Melissa, a girl for whom I had genuine feelings. And it turned out that she was my business partner's sister. Her brother James blew off my cover in front of my sisters, unknowingly. And obviously, Natalie and Kristen were mad because of this. So, to get back at me, they sabotaged my image in front of Melissa and James, ruining both my love life and my business prospects. I tried to explain everything to them, but they didn't even give me a chance to. I had no option but to leave. After that incident, I tried millions of times to contact James and Melissa, but they avoided me at all costs. They just weren't ready to listen to anything I had to say. My sisters brainwashed them really well, and was now working their strings as they liked. James was one of my most important business partners. You can say that almost 80% of my company was reliant on him. And now that he hated me, he drew back his hand. My company started going down the drain. Not to mention that James is very influential in the business world, and because of him, I lost all of my major clients and investors. Everything started going downhill. This was not all. He even started suing me left and right for no reason at all. He fabricated some false evidence papers for these lawsuits. Even if I wanted to convince any client, it wasn't possible anymore, because now, I was a fraud in everyone's eyes. And if you thought that this was all for the hardships I had to endure, then you couldn't be more wrong. Let me get to the topic of my sisters now. The incarnation of evil on Earth. As I already told you all, they had James right in their trap. I strongly suspected that everything James was doing was actually on my sister's command. And since this wasn't enough for them, they started finding new ways to taunt me. I started receiving love letters in my mail. At first, I was unsuspecting about it, because I really never thought that they would go to such lengths just to mock me. But man, they did. The first letter I got started out so well that I was actually starting to believe it. I even felt hopeful that it might be from Melissa, but as it neared the end, the tone became sarcastic and mocking, and when I saw the immature lines such as, "Did you really think you could deceive us and get away with it? Our parents hated you for a reason. This is what happens when you let your name and fame get to your head. If you thought we ever loved you, you have another thing coming." I had no doubt who the letter was from. And then, the saga of such letters continued. I really don't know what they were trying to accomplish by it. I had hit the rock bottom already. Nothing they did could make me feel worse than that, to be honest. Later, I even got to know that Natalie and Penny had found a sugar daddy. I knew this guy. He was a big name in the business world. But his personality sucked. And he had a seemingly weak ego. So he probably felt the sense of a heroship by rescuing the damsels in distress that my sisters pretended to be. I swear, I almost gagged at this whole thing. How did my sisters always manage to find such people? I had to give it to them. They had an eye for catching their prey. A stupid prey that they could easily leech off of. Anyway, so while this was happening, I had obviously gotten into a lot of trouble on the financial side. James was taking advantage of my vulnerability and buying the stocks and shares of my company at the price of peanuts. And I couldn't do anything but watch helplessly. I even had to liquidate my assets and my house in order to pay for everything. Everything consisting the downfall of my company had taken, and the false accusations that James had made on me. What made all this worse was that what belonged to me was now going to my sisters, who had a hand behind all this. As I said, James was their puppet, to be used as they pleased. I had to eventually move out of my house and rent a small one-bedroom apartment in a very crappy area of the city. But that was all my budget allowed. I had to compromise. I started surviving on ramen every day and saved every single penny. After what happened in the club, I already had a hunch about these disastrous events. That's why I was quick to apply for various jobs. I had to rely on part-time jobs for some time before I got an interview call from a bank. My interview went really well, but I was offered an intern position. Well, who was I to deny that? Beggars can't be choosers after all. If I had to start from zero again, then so be it. There was no use of dwelling on the past, on what happened, what could have happened, or if there was a way to prevent it. I only had the present and the future. And I was determined to make them working according to my plans. I worked day in and day out, putting every bit of effort and sincerity that I could muster. In no time, I started getting promoted. I had to drop out of my college earlier because I had no money for tuition. But it was funny that how a college dropout like me was rising in ranks in one of the city's biggest banks. Maybe it's because I knew the recipe for success. Hard work and consistency. My hard work had paid me in my life before, and it was paying me again. I was just glad that I was able to pick myself back up after falling down miserably. My sisters could shove me all they wanted, but I always had myself and my talent to rely upon. Within a year, I was eating lobster on the 41st floor of the tallest skyscraper in the city. Yep, I was back in the game. I had become a partner in the bank and was earning more than I had ever earned in my life. This time, the success was even bigger than my last one. The media was covering me as the new partner of the bank, and my face was everywhere from the newspapers to the TV to social media sites. And this, of course, grabbed the attention of the evil forces in my life, aka my sisters. I received a call from an unknown number one day. Hello? Who is this? I asked after receiving the call. Hey Milton, I'm one of your biggest fans. I heard a very familiar voice on the other side. It was definitely Natalie. But I decided to play along for my own amusement. Why are you a fan of a boring banker like me? I asked in disbelief. Go and find some celebrities on the internet. I've been your fan since ages, she exclaimed in exaggeration. I was there for you for all of your highs and lows. I rolled my eyes. Oh, listen here, Natalie, I started slowly. You weren't there for my lows. You were the reason for my lows. I lost everything thanks to you. And just because I am famous and rich once again, you suddenly decided to call me? Go and do what you do best. Find a vulnerable target. Leech off him and live your life. Just stop freaking bothering me, she gasped. Milton, how can you say that? I am your sister. No matter what happens, our relationship is unchanged. We are siblings, and that's a fact. Now, that's not a good way to talk to your sister who loves you endlessly. I know you think of me as some kind of villain, but trust me, you misunderstand me a lot. I have only ever wished for your well-being, Milton. Sometimes you do annoy me, but I have a big heart. Are you done spewing nonsense? I cut her off. I trusted you once, Natalie, and learned my lesson the hard way. I would have never suffered if I just went through with my plan on the night of that party and handed you to the police. You disgust me, and I don't care about facts. You are not my sister. You are nothing but a nuisance to me. I will report you to the police if you try to call me ever again. And with that, I hung up. Natalie was getting more and more insane as time passed. Sometimes I wonder if she was just delusional or just good at lying. Whatever. I was so done with her. I didn't want her to barge in my life and ruin everything for me again. There was a knock on my office door, and I called the person to come in. It was Beth. Beth was another partner and a shareholder in the bank. She had always been really kind and supportive to me. Even when I was just an intern, she used to be at a senior position, and she always treated me nicely. I remember once when I got in trouble with my manager for something I didn't even do. One of my jealous colleagues had ruined the presentation that I had prepared for a really important meeting, and all the blame fell on me. At that time, Beth was the only person in the whole bank to stand up for me. She even treated me to dinner later to cheer me up. Why? I had asked her that day. Why are you so nice to me? And why do you believe me over everyone else? She had just given me a small smile. Because I see how sincerely you do your work, Milton. And I trust you. I know that good people like you are often put in the spot just because of others' jealousy. You don't have to worry. I will always support you, no matter what. And ever since that day, Beth had been such a good friend of mine. I think that becoming a partner in the bank wouldn't have been possible for me if Beth wasn't by my side every step of the way. And I told this to her every day. This topic is brought up even now as she took a seat in front of me. She shook her head. No, Milton, I'm telling this to you for the millionth time. It was all because of your hard work. I just offended you at times, that's all. Okay, fine, if you say so. I smiled. So what's up? Oh, right, she said. I came here to invite you for the gala night. My eyes widened. You mean the annual gala, which consists of distinguished guests from all over the world? She nodded. Yes, of course. Since you are our partner now, your presence is a must. This gala thing was a huge deal in the business world, and being invited to it was an honor in itself. I couldn't be happier than this. I accepted the invitation, obviously. Only, I should have known that nothing could ever go smoothly in my life.